What's going on, everyone? So Scream 7 is going to be very interesting to see how do they approach just the setting and environment, right? If I'm not mistaken, Sidney Prescott is in Seattle in Scream 5, and I imagine that that's probably where she'll be. That's probably where this will take place. Now, Gale and Sidney are both supposed to be kind of main focus points in this film. So, there is always the possibility that maybe it takes place in New York. Maybe Sidney goes out to Gale, or maybe Gale goes out to Sidney. It could always be a possibility that it takes place in multiple locations, right? Maybe it starts in Seattle, Sidney is attacked, and then she ends up going out to Gale in New York, or maybe they meet somewhere more central, right? That no one or no Ghostface would expect. Right? There's a lot of ways that they could approach this and go about this as far as like a Scream goes. But one of the rumors in regards to the scouting locations, again, keep this stuff in mind as a grain of salt, right? Don't take this stuff too serious. Nothing's really confirmed until it's confirmed for the studio or until the movie's out and we actually see it, right? So everything is just kind of hearsay at this point. But word going around, and I believe that it stems from Critical Overlord. So shout out to Critical Overlord. I'm sure many of you are familiar with his YouTube channel as well. But Ghostface in the woods. It looks like they are trying to find scouting locations for a potential wood scene, kind of like Halloween 18, as well as what was said was Sick. Kevin Williamson did Sick, right? So that makes a lot of sense. I've actually talked about numerous times on this channel having a Ghostface in a wood type setting, right? Like cabin in the woods type style. Now, I don't necessarily think that this will be a cabin in the woods type thing, but it could be, right? Like, let's say Sidney gets attacked at her home, right? It would make sense that she would have some type of cabin or some type of like getaway escape place that she could get away from if a Ghostface ever attacked her and her family, right? I've talked about it in a previous video of like, I would imagine that she has some type of safe house that's already stocked, ready to go. In case Ghostface ever comes, she can get her family out of there if they ever found her, and then she could work her way to the safe house and keep her family safe. So maybe that is something that they integrate into this Scream movie, right? So maybe Sidney is attacked, say it's the opening scene, right? You have like some type of nanny or something, maybe they get killed, and then ultimately Sidney, Mark, and the girls, they end up escaping, they end up getting to a safe place, which is this cabin in the woods. Maybe Gale ends up meeting them out there, and they kind of have like a cabin in the woods style Scream, right? And I mean, it could also be possible that like maybe Sidney's out there and there are other, well, you'd imagine it'd be like an isolated cabin, but maybe it's not. What if it's like, because there's supposed to be a new group of characters. What if that new group of characters are like in a cabin close to Sid, right? What if it's like a cabin that's somewhere, in, so she kind of like hiding in plain sight type thing. And there's like this group of kids that move in, and maybe we think that they're all being in on it, or some of them are in on it, but turns out none of them are. What if the killers are just somebody else entirely, right? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of ways that you could kind of approach this and kind of tell the story of Sidney Prescott in the woods. You get some awesome kills. Like, that's one of the things that I really have talked about and wanted to see in the past is like, let's get some like cabin in the woods styles, because you could do some awesome scenes. Imagine Ghostface stalking somebody in the woods, and they're like hiding behind trees and ducking under all these things, and like Ghostface is just stalking them. Like, you could do a really cool chase scene, right? Like, you could do a really cool like just kill sequence in the middle of the woods, have Ghostface or multiple Ghostface kind of hunting down, said character like a prey, right? Like, I think that is something that could be kind of entertaining. But again, execution, delivery is everything, but I do like the idea of like different settings, different versions, right? Like, let's get some differences, right? Like, let's just not keep everything kind of in this box. Right? There's nothing wrong with doing a little expansion, doing a little couple things. It does also make sense, again, because Kevin Williamson did do Sick, right? So that was his kind of, baby that took place in a cabin in the woods. You had some wood sequences, right? You had some kills. So you could do something very, very, very reminiscent, very similar, to where you could also have like, Ghostface kind of always stalking, always in the background, right? Like think of like the classic Scream. Like you always saw or always felt like Ghostface's presence. Right? You always saw like little moment like, oh, there's Ghostface, right? Behind the scenes. Or there'd be scenes where you felt like he was watching. You could kind of get back to that, especially with the wood scene, right? You could have something where, say they are in a cabin and they're sitting on the patio of the cabin and they're just talking, BSing, and you just see kind of Ghostface in the background just walking through the brush. Right? Maybe they hear a noise and look and it's like a deer or something. Right? You could get creative and have. That's why I like the idea of a wood setting. Like there's just so many ways that you could kind of approach it. Right? You could have like kind of fake jump scares where you lead the tension, you lead the suspense, and it's like, oh, this person's about to get it, and then boom, right there you go, like, and then it's not them dying, it's a deer, or they see whatever, they see a rabbit or something, and they're like, oh, and then you just kind of cool expectations. They go back inside, you think everything's good, you think everything's fine, and then nope, boom, they're done, right? Like you get away with all, you can do a lot, you can kind of shape this Scream movie in a very unique way. Also, do they kind of go like the snow route? Like that's something that's always been kind of thrown out, that people, myself and many others, have thrown out. Like, hey, it'd be really cool to kind of like have like a snow setting of Ghostface. Like imagine Ghostface just hiding in the snow and his like mask just blending in, and all you see is like the eyes and the mouth part, the eyes, mouth, and nose part. Like that's something that I think could be pretty cool. Hey, I just getting creativity, right? But like, don't get too crazy, because you could overly create and to a point where it becomes obnoxious, silly, or just too over the top, right? Keep things within reason, keep things in perspective, tell a good story, have various settings, have unique places. Like there's just a lot that you can kind of do, right? And yet you could still overdo it to where it becomes convoluted and an issue. So you got Ghostface, you get some woods, you have some epic chase scenes, some kill scenes, right? You have Sidney be attacked in the opening scene. She is fighting for her life. She ends up escaping, getting the kids out. They end up going to this isolated cabin. Gale comes to help and kind of be there for support so they can gear up and try to take on Ghostface. Maybe Gale is even attacked too. You got that. Boom, they're safe, they're sound. All seems right? And then, you have whatever, you have a couple deaths, some random deaths, maybe it's the maid or the nanny or something like that ends up meeting their end. So you have kind of like this opening scene kill, the new group of characters. Like I said, you could have like at this cabin, maybe Sidney's, it's not like a complete isolated cabin, but there's just like some kids coming around that almost get shot or something, right? Because it's like, like, what are you doing over here? It's like, oh, we're at the cabin down the road. Sorry, we were just going for a walk, right? Like, and you kind of set the tension, right? And then you kind of go over to those kids and have Ghostface maybe taking them out and stuff. Like, it's just, again, there's a lot that you can kind of do with this setting. So to me, just keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it entertaining. And I like the idea. I do. Like, I genuinely like the idea of like Ghostface in the woods, right? Give us some woods, give us some suspense, give us some chase scenes, some scares, all of that stuff. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you love the idea of a wood setting? Do you love the idea of, Sidney maybe being isolated in a cabin and Ghostface, like, have these epic chase scenes, these epic kills? Do you think, no, like, keep it in the city, keep it in small towns, things like that? Which I do get in a sense, right? Like, there is a part of me that feels like if you're going to do this cabin in the woods thing, the whole film should kind of be that way, right? Like, because I don't think it would start in that cabin. I don't think it would like end in the cabin. But granted, again, if you did something where Sidney's attacked early, Ghostface comes, it's this this battle, she flees to the cabin in the woods, and then 90% of the film takes place there, then fine. Like, yeah, I guess you'd get away with that. I like the ideas of the different settings, right? Like, how many times can you go back to Woodsboro? How many times can you, do LA, New York, right? To me, it's like, okay, you got you did the Woodsboro thing a couple times. You did, the Hollywood thing. You did the New York thing. Okay, now let's try like a isolated cabin, right? Let's try, a wood, a holiday sequence, right? Let's have some fun. Let's explore some things. Let's experiment a little bit. But again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. It helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.